Greetings. Been a while since I've been in front of a camera, so got a bit inspired to make a video. I guess the video is going to be about exhausting old patterns. So when we build a sense of self on unhealthy patterns and patterns that aren't serving our highest good, naturally we're going to be in states of fear, worry, states of depression, and we're going to be caught in these lower frequencies, let's call it lower frequency cycles and patterns. So with the system that we're mostly living in, especially as Westerners, we're kind of ingrained in this, right? We're ingrained in this system that kind of keeps us in these patterns and keeps us suppressed in a way. So when we start becoming aware of that we're caught in these patterns, these unhealthy patterns, and a lot of this comes from childhood and conditioning, right? We're most conditioned when we're children. We're most conditioned when we're young, and that's when a lot of these patterns set in. It could be different for everyone. There's so many things I'm talking about when I'm talking about patterns, but it could be anything. Like, what I'm mainly talking about is patterns of indulging and numbing and suppressing, and this can be done through so many different avenues. Like the access of stuff we have these days, it's like we don't have to go anywhere to numb ourselves. Like, we got a phone and it's so easy, right? So I guess when you've numbed yourself for so long, I mean, people can do this their whole lives and not realize they're in like a cycle or like a pattern, and but when you really start to become like consciously aware of these patterns in your life, and you start observing them from a non-judgmental state, and you start seeing them for what they are, and you start disidentifying yourself with that, because we're so identified with the patterns we're ingrained into, like, and the feelings that are a byproduct of these patterns, right? We're so ingrained and believe that to be us, and we're so conditioned to follow the system and do what everyone's doing, right? And keep us in this cycle, this pattern, and it's run a lot of the times on fear and anxiety, and it keeps us suppressed, right? So I'm talking about exhausting these patterns. So a lot of the times, to actually be free of this, we have to kind of just let it play out, but bringing our conscious awareness to this and being in a non-judgmental witness state of these patterns, right? When we can do that, it's like when we're judging ourselves for being in these patterns, we're actually feeding these patterns. So when we can take a step back and come into here and just observe in a non-judgmental state, we relinquish. Like, this isn't a one and done thing though. This is like, sometimes it can feel like, you're observing these things and they just keep coming back and over again. Like, that's what this video is about, exhausting that, just over and over again. You watch these patterns and you watch them, and over time you watch them so much that it's so clear as day, and you go to the root cause. You start to see that there's more at play, and there's more going on than what you thought. And it's not just, a lot of times we're just on the surface level of things, but when we start going deeper and we start seeing there's so much more at play, when you really observe yourself and watch the patterns you're involved in. It could be anything, like, you know, using substances, and that can be anything. You can be suppressing yourself with food, like information, like anything. There's so much we can numb ourselves with, and you know, it's everywhere. So, but when you really start to come into a new, like, for me, right, at this period that I'm in, I'm really coming into a new, I would say, new beginning, right? And that comes with letting go of old patterns that aren't serving my highest good, and that in itself makes room for healthier patterns. And when you start doing that, and you start taking out old patterns and exhausting those old patterns and making room for new healthier patterns, and actively putting those in your life, you're gonna bring a more harmonious experience to yourself, and then naturally you're going to attract that with, like, you know, the people around you, the situations you're in. And I feel like I'm going through that right now. And when you start to really exhaust yourself with these old patterns and distance yourself from them, they bite back even stronger. They come back stronger, and you can feel like, why? Like, I feel like I was doing so good, and all of a sudden, all this stuff comes in, and you're indulging in these patterns and stuff. It's like these patterns have energy to them, right? So when you starve it, it's like a leech, like you're starving it, and you're starving it. So it in a way, it's like dying. So it'll come back stronger, and it'll, like, these patterns have life force to them. They have energy to them. So that they need to live in a way. These patterns need to be kept going, otherwise they die. So they'll come back stronger. So it's about just watching that and watching these patterns. And that's when you stop giving them power, is when you stop identifying with them, and you just watch them from a non-judgmental state, and you allow them to play out, and then you just witness them. And for me, it's like witnessing them in a loving presence. And you know, being able to do that takes time, and it takes you to really having to understand what these patterns are. And when you can, like, bring, like have love for these patterns, it sounds, you know, some people wouldn't understand that, but when you really do that, it's like you exhaust those patterns. You let go of those things that aren't of service to your highest good, and are keeping you in unhealthy states and unconscious states. And when you've seen that with so many people around you, people close to you, and you see, like, these patterns at their, like, core despair, like, you see these patterns that in people that have brought them to, like, this, like, hollowness, and you've seen it at its, like, depth. You really, like, it gives you so much, like, clarity on it, and like, yes, you can still have these patterns, but it's like you're so much more aware of them, and you're not so defined by them, and you can really start taking them out of your life and bringing in healthy patterns, and live a life more in joy and abundance, rather than fear, lack and scarcity, and these states that these low heavy states is what, like, societies run on for the most part. We run on so much, like, greed and fear, and when you can pull yourself out of that and live life the way you want to live it, and not by conditioning and programming, and you live life the way your soul's meant to live. You start living a more harmonious experience, and when you do that, You're bringing harmony to the people around you. To, you know, it's like when you're harmonious on the inside, naturally you're gonna start bringing harmony to the world around you. It's just how it works. So hope this video meant something for someone. Appreciate you for watching. You have my love, you have my gratitude. Been a while since I uploaded a video, so thought I'd make one. Thought I'd make a video for my 40 subscribers. So appreciate you. Appreciate you guys. Alright, I'll see you guys later. See ya.